And joining the debate this morning, there is Sky Sports' Rob Jones and broadcaster Shebahn Aherne. Welcome to both of you. We're going to start with Manchester United. We understand that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will still be in charge for this game against Tottenham on Saturday Night Football. And that game comes after that 5-0 humiliation at home to Liverpool on Sunday. Right, Shebahn, are you surprised that they haven't made a change?
I am, and I have been backing Ole till the cows come home, so I'm pleased that they haven't been trigger happy this time. I think he deserves the season. I know Sunday was heartbreaking and probably the worst day that Man United have had in such a long time, and especially that Ole has had in charge of the club. But I'm glad that they have not sacked him yet. I think he deserves the rest of the season. If it can't get any worse, just give him that little bit more time, and let's see what happens. I also think that they haven't found the man to take over from Ole yet, so let's stick with him for now. Let's just take a breath. It can't get any worse.
Well, you never know. Rob, Shebahn saying then they should stick with Ole for the rest of the season. Where do you stand on it, and how much does it help that he's a club legend at Manchester United?
Yeah, I think it obviously does help that he's a club legend at Manchester United. And I was there on Sunday, and I think that the reaction of the crowd probably helped Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot. I mean, you compare it to a situation at another Premier League club where a manager's just lost his job. Steve Bruce sips his tea wrong and everyone at Newcastle booed him. Whereas Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the majority of the fans stayed in the ground. They were singing his name towards the end of the game. But for me, it wasn't as though Sunday was some sort of light bulb moment where I looked at it and thought, no, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't the right man for the job, and that this was some aberration from Manchester United where the direction of travel had been really good and it was just one bad day at the office. For me, there are enough signs in place that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not going to be the man who's going to bridge the gap between Manchester United and where Chelsea, Liverpool and Manchester City are. And do you know what, Shebahn? It can get worse. It can get worse because Manchester United can drift way off from being in contention for even the top four. At the start of the season, it looked like there were 4 teams, which was almost a closed shot for the Champions League places. Now you're looking at it thinking, could West Ham, could Leicester pop them for a top 4 finish this season? And again, I think the argument of, well, no one else is out there. I think there are managers out there. And if you're driving your car down the motorway and you take a wrong turn, you don't just carry on driving in the hope that eventually you'll get to somewhere where you want to be. I think they're at a point where it is clear he is not the person that's going to take Manchester United back to where they need to be.
But Shebahn, this backs you up, though, doesn't it? Because he has proved in the past that he does bounce back. He's gone through difficult runs of games and then gone on a really good run of games. So how important are these next 3 fixtures? Tottenham away, Atalanta away in the Champions League, and then, of course, Manchester City at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at player for Tottenham, we have to have this one in the bag. But then, you know, looking at Atalanta in the Champions League last week was just such a frightening game to watch, and nothing went to plan. But then it did go well, and I think things can be turned around. And Weir mentioned that it can't get any worse at this moment in time. Yes, of course it can, but he said it himself, we're at rock bottom. It can't get worse from here. So I think this is the turning point. This is what Ole needed. We've said it as well, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson's there at his side. Is he there supporting him? Is he there giving him a rocket up his backside that he needs? I think what we're fed up as seeing as Manchester United fans is Ole and Michael Carrick sitting on the sidelines looking at their iPads. Get up, give us some passion. You know, let's turn it around from here. Let us see a different side of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If it's that bad, now it's time to see a shift of momentum, and that's to see the shift in the managerial qualities that he possesses. We know he can do it. We know it can turn it around, and the players have to take responsibility as well. I've said this before. I'm hearing it again and again and again. The players must represent and back their manager now as well.
Rob, sorry,
no,
Emma. When you say we know he can turn it around, what's that based on?
Well, based on facts, Rob, look at last season as well. The second half of last season, you know, we were sitting here again this time last year saying Ole's not the man for the job, but he can turn it around. And he did last season, and we did finish second. So I do look and go, well, he can do that. And now with the pressure on the way it is on, with the squad of players that he has got, he can turn it around.
Rob, Shebahn's talking about pressure there. We obviously had the news yesterday here on Sky Sports News that some players are reportedly unhappy with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's coaching methods. I mean, that doesn't sound good, does it?
It doesn't, and again, it's not particularly surprising. If you're a group of world-class footballers and you are subjected to losing 5-0 at home to your greatest rivals on Sunday, there is every chance that there are going to be leaks, there are going to be murmurings of discontent. And there are people sat on that bench who weren't involved at all on Sunday, the likes of Jadon Sancho and Jesse Lingard and Donny van der Beek, who it's only human nature for football or for anyone to be sat there, possibly saying it under your breath, but certainly thinking, well, I could be doing better than that. And that's the place that Manchester United are in at the moment, that there will be people who are unhappy. And you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, and I listened to the interview that he did with Jeff Shreves last week leading up to the game, where he was talking about the Everton game, and he said, and we lost to Everton. And Jeff Shreves said, no, he drew. And he said, well, I can count drawing with Everton at home as a loss. That is the drive that man has. So if he thinks that drawing with Everton is unacceptable, he's damn well going to think that losing 5-0 at home is unacceptable. And I guess as from a Man United fan's perspective, you don't want it to be coming out that we're not happy with the manager and we're not happy with his training methods, but you certainly want it to look like they care. And I know that sometimes there is a sort of indication that particularly someone like Ronaldo, the way he sort of waves his arms around and flaps and mutters is seen as a bit counterproductive. It at least shows that he is driven and he cares. In his own words, he's not there for a holiday, and he is desperate, and the players are desperate to turn things round. But yeah, certainly leaking out that they're not happy with the way the manager's going about it is perhaps not the most helpful way of doing it.
Maybe Ronaldo got that winning attitude from Sir Alex Ferguson. Shebahn, he definitely is backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from what we hear. How important is that?
It's so important. I mean, we saw the footage of Sir Alex Ferguson, shaking his head like, oh dear, this isn't looking good on Sunday. Of course, we're all bound to see that, but it's so easy to go in and quit while things are rough. I mean, it's the basic fundamentals of life. When it gets really tough, you get stuck in. And what we seem to be doing at Manchester United is giving up on our managers, give them the rest of the season. And yeah, I do think it's a massive issue if it's true that the players are falling out of love with them and out of, confidence in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's what I would say. That's the major issue. And if that is happening, that's maybe where Ole has to put his hands up and going, okay, I am not the man for this job. And they have to, find the outcome there. But I do think when we watched that game on Sunday, the players did not take responsibility. There was not enough passion. There were hands flying up in the air. Bruno's looking moody all the time. We saw it at Atalanta last week as well. It's time to get stuck in. You wouldn't have seen that from Manchester United 20 years ago. There has to be passion. There has to be fight. You have to dig deep, especially when you're playing Liverpool at home.
Rob, if Ole's not the right man, who is? You used that motorway analogy earlier, loved it, to be fair. A lot of reports out there that the club have spoken to Antonio Conte. We personally believe here at Sky Sports News those reports are wider than mark, but would he be a good fit? Because this is the question at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose that goes down to the question of what exactly the owners want from the club, and are the Glazers desperate to return Manchester United to the glory days when they're winning the title every year, or are they quite happy to just be a regular top four club, to take the Champions League money and sort of potter on with no real opportunity to close down those three clubs that we've already spoken about this morning, who are at the moment seemingly a long way ahead of them? Is Antonio Conte the right fit? If you want to win stuff, Antonio Conte clearly is the right fit, because he's won 5 league titles. I think he won 1 league with Juventus with 102 points one season. He turned Chelsea around very quickly. The counter side of the argument is he's quite a combustible character, but given what Shebahn was just saying about what the players need and what she wants to see from Ollie and Michael Carrick not sitting there watching Netflix on their iPad is lighting a fire.
We don't know when they're doing that, right?
I'm sure he wasn't doing that. That was slightly different. But Antonio Conte, you remember him from his Chelsea days. He's in this Diego Simeone mould where he's right on the edge of his technical area, waving his arms around like a windmill and getting as much as he can out of the players. So, I sort of understand in a way what someone like Gary Neville, who knows far more than I could ever know about Manchester United, says, that you don't want short-term fixes and you don't want people who go in there and fall out with the board like maybe Jose Mourinho has done in the past. But he is a winner, and ultimately, the two questions I'd always ask myself is, do I think he'd get more out of the players than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is? Yes. Could Manchester United ultimately be doing better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Yes. And Antonio Conte, for me, would be a solution to that, even if it wasn't one to last 5 or 10 years.
Well, if Solskjaer wants a confidence boost, he could watch early kick-off with Shebahn talking about him, because Shebahn is definitely a big fan of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We know that you, in terms of being in that dugout, you want to see Solskjaer stay there. If not, we've been talking about Conte there. Is there anyone else who you think in the back of your mind, OK, I would be quite happy for them to take the job if it comes to that?
I think Brendan Rodgers would be the man for the job. I definitely think he hasn't said yes. I think that would be maybe something just now to consider. Brendan would be brilliant at Manchester United. Would that be the place that he wanted to go? I'm not entirely sure, but I think it would be brilliant for him. Somebody with passion, like when Frank Lampard, you know, that love affair that all fell out for Chelsea, maybe that is the same for Ole, and I'm still holding out for a love story. I want that, you know, fairy tale ending for Ole at Manchester United. I want to see him win as a manager. That's what I want. I'm so hormonal. You know, I think that's what happens. I think the person who comes in, I want to see what happened with Frank. The fans still appreciate him when he left, but Thomas Tuchel came in, flying up and down the sidelines, you know, made me think, all right, okay, what's going on with this guy? And there was just so much passion and, you know, oomph, and they're winning. And I don't think that we're seeing that from Ole. That would be the one, if you aren't listening this morning, Ole, you know, come on, get up, just give us a bad go on the sidelines. You know, just make us feel that you want to be there managing Manchester United. And I know people deal with emotions differently. But yeah, I mean, somebody like Simeone would be quite interesting to see at Manchester United, and at the Premier League would be quite cool. But I think Brendan Rodgers might be the man, just not quite yet.
If Ole is watching, he'll be absolutely loving you this morning.
I don't think Liverpool fans will be.
We're not dealing.
I'm not sure the Liverpool fans would want to see Brendan Rodgers at Manchester. I mean, Simeone is, I'm with you on that one, Shebahn.
Just kind of turning attention to certain players, Rob. You mentioned Donny van der Beek earlier, who must be just feeling incredibly frustrated, you know, with his time at Manchester United. He's changed his agent. That could, of course, mean anything, really. Why do you think it hasn't worked out for him so far at Manchester United?
Yeah, of all the people I felt quite sorry for on Sunday, Donny van der Beek was sent out to do some sort of sprints post-match as I was standing pitchside, and I thought, you don't want to be doing this at the moment, do you, Donny? It really sort of strikes as something that this wasn't the manager's signing, that this wasn't someone that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was desperate to have through the door at Old Trafford, because had he been so, he surely would have had more opportunities by now. And there have been countless conversations over the course of particularly the start of the season, but going back longer than that, as to what do Manchester United need? Well, they need a world-class holding midfielder, someone who plays in that position. And there are conversations about Declan Rice, particularly Calvin Phillips as well. But why hasn't he been given a run of games? And there have been opportunities where he's been thrown in for one appearance, or he plays in the cup, but you're not going to see the best out of a guy who's hardly played for a year if you chuck him in for 70 minutes and it doesn't work, and then he goes back to warming the bench. So there's been countless opportunities for Scott McTominay. I think he's done pretty well, but particularly Fred. And you think, why not give Donny van der Beek a little bit of a run of games? As Shebahn has said, it can't get any worse, particularly in that central midfield position where they got completely overrun on Sunday. Why not give him an opportunity to show what he can do?